Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Olainfarm first quarter 2016 investor conference webinar. A lot has happened since our last call. Olainfarm has acquired another company, Tonus Elast. Yesterday it had its shareholders meeting, during which important decisions on payouts of dividends and budget plans were taken. To tell us more about these and other things, we have our host, Management Board member of Olainfarm Salvis Lapiņš, with us. But before I give the floor to Mr. Lapiņš, a short reminder about the agenda of the webinar. Firstly, we will have a presentation about Olainfarm's performance in the first quarter of 2016 and its recent activities. Then we will proceed with the questions and answers session. We have already received quite many questions from investors, analysts and media, but if there is anything that you would like to ask Salvis, please use the question box on the right side of your screen to send in questions. All questions will be addressed after the presentation. Salvi, I invite you to start the presentation.
Thank you, Eva. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me well. Please comment if you don't. Yes, indeed. Since I last spoke to you in March, plenty of things have been happening. Some of them you already mentioned. They really are the most important ones. But if you let me, I'll go into greater detail about what has happened with us during the first quarter, and especially what has happened to us and with us after the end of the first quarter. So Q1 sales results, for those of you who follow our monthly publication of sales, they are pretty much updated on that. Q1, we have sales of slightly above 26 million euros, which is a reduction by about 3% compared to Q1 of last year. Well, reduction sounds bad, but then again, if you look at how good the Q1 of last year was, then this is still the second best quarter of ours in terms of sales. About 5 million to those sales were made by pharmacies, which is about 20% increase, and Silvanos made about 1.2 million euro sales, which is an increase of about 10%. If you look at profits, the reduction here is huge, or so it may seem when you look at the chart. But then again, please note that Q1 of last year was unbelievably good, not least because if you may remember that in Q1 last year, ruble gained a lot of value, and just through positive forex fluctuations, we get about 3 million positive influence from that, meaning about extra 3 million in our profits. This year, our net profit after Q1 preliminarily is at about 3.1 million euros, and that is net of two types of provisions we have made, and I will go into greater details later about them. But those two types of provisions that we made is 1 million euros for Ukrainian receivables and about 200,000 euros for illiquid chemical products that we have produced a while ago with an intention to sell, but haven't been as good in selling it all. So auditors pointed at them, and therefore we decided that beginning of this year we do provide for them. Yesterday our AGM approved the sales and profits targets. According to that decision, our profit targets, consolidated profit targets for this year is 10 million euros. And so again, easy to calculate. So by making 3.1 million euros net profit in Q1, we've achieved 31% of target for the entire year. Now, if you look at EBITDA and EBITDA margin, and I see that, are we on with the poll already?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So yes, in the meantime, for those of you who know, we have poll questions showing up here from time to time. So let's start with the first one. And this one is a pretty traditional question that we ask after every single quarter. And the question is, do you think our Q1 results are better than expected? Are they worse than expected? Or are they just what you expected? So please feel free to choose your answer. Yes, as far as EBITDA and EBITDA margins are concerned, there is in in terms of rolling 12-month figures, in Q1 there is a reasonably sharp reduction from about 26% EBITDA margin to about 23%. Not least because quite a good successful Q1 of last year is no longer among 12 months that are being covered here, and instead that's replaced by still okay but not as good, of course, Q1 of this year. So therefore you see both fall in nominal EBITDA to 22 million, which is a reduction by 12%, and of course in a margin. EBITDA target for this year is 20 million euros, and 27% of that has been achieved in Q1. So yeah, unlike normally when I have a look at country pie charts, here I have left Q1 pie chart for last year and Q1 pie chart of this year, so we can better see what are the differences. And now you can see that for the first time that I remember, at least since I've been doing webinars or having decent management reports, so for the first time ever I see that in terms of a quarter, Russia is not the biggest market of ours. It has been indeed replaced by Latvia. You see that Q1 last year, Russia made up 37% of our sales, whereas Q1 this year it's only 24%, whereas Latvia has grown from 21% to 25%. Ukraine, Belarus have grown, which was slightly unexpected. For Ukraine, it is partially because Ukraine has been buying some aminosalicylate acid from us directly, not via WHO as it used to be a few years in a row. So we see that Netherlands, which is a normal recipient of our PASA product, has dropped from 8% to 2%. But Ukraine has grown from 12% to 19% of our total sales. So that's partly explained by that. But Belarus really is a very positive surprise, especially since all the signals that we have received from Belarus were not as optimistic. The same I did with products. We have products pie chart for Q1 last year and Q1 this year, and here you also can see that we have a change of leader. Neromedin has been the leader in terms of quarters since forever, but now we had Adaptol being our leading product, which has been slightly bigger than Neromedin in Q1. Neromedin dropped from 19% to 15%. Adaptol gained just 2 percentage points in our pie chart, but that turned out to be enough for Adaptol to become a product #1 for us. Now, some webinars ago, I have been looking at products and how they behave in different countries, and what we see if we look at both these pie charts, or let's say all 4 pie charts together, meaning country pie charts and product pie charts, pretty much confirms what we saw, if you remember, in those products in different countries charts, that Neromedin has really been predominantly Russia's product, whereas Adaptol and Nurofen, they've been doing much better in Ukraine and Belarus. Now, with Ukraine and Belarus growing and Russia decreasing, we also have a change of our best-selling product. However, the good news is that best-selling products are even more even than they used to be. I mean, the leading product now is only 15% of total sales, and unlike in Q1 2015, when we see that all the remaining products made up 80%, now all the remaining products are making up 11%. So we are even less dependent on single product than we used to be. And then again, top 10 products, they are unchanged at all. I mean, they have been different places. Remotely has improved a bit, etc. But just the list of top 10 is the same. Normally I call it a growth driver, but this is probably one of the first quarters for quite some time, and formally we do not have growth, although the quarter itself wasn't that bad. So I named it change drivers. Now, if you look at our top 15 products and how they have been behaving compared to the way they've been behaving 1 year ago, we see two major reasons in terms of products why our sales have been dropping this quarter, and those are called nerimidine and para-aminosalicylate acid. You see, the VASA has still dropped, but not as much as Netherlands, meaning that we have been shipping that product to other countries as well. Significant reduction you can also see of the nerimidine and pasta. You can see with Furamag and Furosol. And biggest contributor is 3-quinoclidinone hydrochloride, which has grown by 200,000 euros. So a lot. I mean, nerimidine and pasta lost about 2.4 million combined. So it was obvious that it's going to be very difficult to compensate for loss of just these two ones. So yeah, in other words, most of products are falling. If we look at the countries, then the picture isn't that bad. You see really the major fall for Russia and major fall for Netherlands. Lost 3.8 million in sales. Netherlands lost 1.7, so they both combined lost more than 5 million euros in 1 quarter. But about 2 million of that was compensated by Ukraine and Belarus. In terms of percentages, Germany seems to be adding the most, as it added 2,773% in growth. It just basically means that base in Q1 last year was too small. Netherlands have shrunk by 79%. And for the first time in top 15 list, we have Estonia. So special greetings to our listeners or our guests from Estonia. So they have, in our consolidated terms, reached number 15 for the first time since I remember doing these in similar charts. So many things happening for the first time in this Q1. Now, recent events, targets, and Eva, could you come up with the next poll question here? Or maybe just a minute later. Okay, let's have it now. Yeah, we just published targets some time ago, and have lots of questions about why they seem to be so small and unambitious compared to great results of 2015. And basically, the way we approach this is that we expect in general terms, we expect 2016 to be very similar to 2015, with the correction to Ukraine. Now, the situation is, as you remember, that since about 2012, we have a huge exposure. That was when we had to overship products to Ukraine. We had a huge exposure to our Ukrainian partners. At that time, it was about 13 million euros. Then, economic turbulence started in Ukraine, and that company lost lots of money because of forex. And formally is in technically very bad shape. And ever since, of course, our auditors have been paying very close attention to them, and basically asking for provisions on the whole outstanding loan. What we did in turn, we found a non-recourse factorizing scheme with Trusted Commerzbank, one of very few Latvian banks who was actively having business with Ukraine, and they were providing no recourse factorizing, basically meaning scheme very similar to insurance. And that was fine with everyone. We felt sure that we are going to get the money. Auditors felt sure that we are going to get that money, and the service itself wasn't was not tremendously expensive, so it made some commercial sense to have it. So it worked out fine. Now, Trust Commerzbank, as you know, is been in process of liquidation, meaning its licenses, of course, are revoked, and no longer can it provide similar types of service. Meaning that we have a major question of what's going to happen with the outstanding payments. Now, meanwhile, the company has, despite the financial difficulties they've been into, they have been paying quite nicely, and the outstanding debt has fallen from about 13 million to about 9 million. So significant reduction for a company which is under major forex turbulence. However, even 9 million is still a big amount, and therefore we made an assumption that we will have to provide about 1/2 of outstanding money, which is roughly 4.5 million euros. We won't be able to collect much more than as it goes according to normal course of business. We also made an assumption that we won't be able to create a similar factorizing scheme as we used to. We also decided that, like typical receivables insurance, which in Ukraine these days costs you, enormous proportion of the debt, makes no commercial sense. So we decided that for now we are booking for the target results of 2016. We are booking the necessity to provide this amount of money for Ukrainian receivables. However, if Ukrainians pay nicer than they used to do, they're still moving nicely out of that huge debt. But if they do it even more nicely, or if we do come up with a similar scheme, then the necessity to provide 4.5 million euros, of course, goes away, and our financials therefore will look better. But still, we took 2015 as a baseline, and those acquisitions that we already made and that we may make before the end of the year will compensate for the minor loss of sales that we have. For instance, Tonus Elast we just acquired in the middle of May, meaning we will only consolidate it starting June 1st, which is 7 months out of 12. If they still make roughly 7 million sales per annum, that basically means something like 5 million euro add, which more or less compensates for the loss of existing sales. So that's the philosophy behind it. Here you can see on the chart on the table, in the presentation slide, in the lower end of the slide, you see the table, how we plan our numbers might look and how they actually looked in 2015. You see the changes, yeah, the explanation was what I just told you. Now, another more recent event is an AGM, and maybe we could come up with next poll question here. So it was held yesterday, and basically decided pretty much everything it decides normally, which is approval of reports and budgets and appointment of internal and external auditing committee. This year, the decision also was made on dividends, and as we promised, 17.5% payout rate was approved by AGM, meaning that it would be 18.1 euro cents per share. The only sort of semi-expected change that happened during the AGM was that according to initial board's proposal, the record date was set to be September 14th and payment date was set to be September 21st, but that was declined, and instead, after some consultations with the board, it was proposed that the new record date of June the 21st and the payment date of June 27th was approved. And therefore the question is, where do you prefer your dividends? Do you prefer them in September? Do you prefer them in June? Or maybe you don't really care if you ever receive them? Yes, and just talking about dividends, the Council again reiterated that the approach that we decided to take a few years ago about having, because of high investments, having a dividend holiday is something that should be avoided. Payout ratio could be smaller. We're currently in the board and the council and the related discussions, we are deciding between 15% and 17.5%. So we may, since the investments are ongoing, we may decide not to increase payout ratio any further. But having total dividend holidays altogether is something that the council was quite unhappy with. Yes, so the major recent event, if I may say so, is of course an acquisition that we made a little less than 1 month ago, and that's a company called Tonus Elast. Yeah, I just thought of a new cooperation, but it might be too late to ask it. It would be interesting to know if you knew about the company before we acquired it, but I don't know if it's technically possible to put that.
Yes, Salvi, we can launch it. Just give me a minute.
Right. Yeah, it would be interesting if I'm seeing 28 attendees here. It would be interesting if you knew a company and maybe you could put one of the answers that you actually use their products. Oh, somebody just got scared and we have 27 attendees. Yeah, it would be nice if we could put that poll question on. Yes, so what it is that we acquired. So it's, yeah, basically the news were that on May 12th we acquired 100% of shares in the company, which is leading Latvian producer of elastic and compression medical products. That's a smart way of saying what they make. But one of the samples you have here, I mean, later on you will see all sorts of professionally correct and smart ways of saying what they produce. But I would basically, by targets, I would basically put them in 3 major categories. They are either medical application, they are sports application, and they are special products for pregnant and breastfeeding women. So that's the sort of main 3 groups they're targeting it. So the value of transaction, as we reported, was 40 million euros. Acquisition was 100% financed by ABLB, which is the 2nd biggest bank in Latvia in terms of assets, and maturity of the loan is 10 years. So a few facts about the company. It's more than 20 years old. Its sales last year were 7.3 million and net profit was 1.7 million euros. So you can do your multiples yourself. Yeah, here are the poll questions. So did you know about this company before it hit the news when we acquired it? The company is bank debt free, which is good. The company has slightly more than 200 employees, and the production site is located in Nīcas Novads, which is about 3 kilometers south of Liepāja, actually quite close to the seashore. So increasing number of Olainfarm employees wants to have a business trip to that company, especially in sunny summertime. The main export markets include CIS, EU, and Middle East, but we'll go into a little greater detail about that. So this is in both these slides you see how the production unit looks. Here I just made one slide back. This is a reasonably sophisticated machinery where they make different compression materials, and this really is more of a computer than of a knitting machine, because you can basically regulate the pressure for your sock and different parts of that sock depending on what your medical indication is. And this is a bit more typical older school sort of elastic material knitting machine. Yeah, so these are the sales, top 10 countries in 2015. Russia is about 1/3. Latvia is big, but Latvia is big also partially for 2 main reasons. Tonus Elast hasn't really been doing that of a great job in being present in Latvian pharmacies. Instead, they have 7 shops of their own in major Latvian cities, normally located very close to where the potential targets are. Those will be different hospitals on sort of trauma centers. couple of interviews right after the acquisition, I said that there's good potential to increase Russian sales immediately, which is true for the reason that so far the company has been making its Russian sales by a Russian daughter company, which wasn't really their daughter company, but was the daughter company of their owners. And of course, that is kind of practice that we do not want to continue. Instead, we will channel it through either daughter company of Tonus itself or daughter company of Olainfarm. So meaning that those profits that used to sell in Russian daughter company will actually hit now Olainfarm's group. Yeah, so far company had little to almost no sales in Belarus, Ukraine. Ukraine already, they were nicely present in Ukraine a few years ago. Discontinued that, that will add on nicely. We believe that Belarus could be increased, and some Central Asian countries, they're not represented at all. Now, Czech Republic here, you see it's number 4 country, and I probably have a bit more details on that here. Here you see sales dynamics to top 5 countries. So huge influence of others. You see about 2 million a year. They sell to, about 2 million a year they'll sell to numerous other countries. Actually includes a lot of Middle Eastern countries as well, and that's growing. Russia of course is the biggest single market, but still we plan that even though it is already big for Tonus, it's going to grow a bit more. Latvian sales have been growing nicely here. Like I said, they have 7 shops throughout Latvia, but also all the internet sales of Tonus Elast are channeled, via Latvian based internet platforms. By the way, you can even buy Tonus Elast in Amazon. If you go to Amazon and look into Tonus Elast, you will see their products on display and an offer there too. Now, Czech Republic, you see, it's actually what, number 4 market at the moment, and there was no sales in 2011, 2012. Now that's a contract manufacturing for world's leading compression materials company. That means that sometimes if you go into your country, into sports shop and want to buy your special cycling socks or special socks or something for any types of sports, under whatever brand name they are, there is quite a good chance that it is actually being produced by Tonus Elast. So the products, again, this is how they sort of officially divide their products into 6, different categories. In total they produce more than 100 types of products, but then again each of those types then divided into different sizes and colors. So the total number of items they have is close to several thousand. But they divided that into 6 different groups, and to simplify this a little, I would say that compression products is very rapidly increasing segment of theirs. It is technically more sophisticated. It is R&D more intensive, if you like, compared to most of other products they make. Therefore, they are somewhat more difficult to produce. Therefore, the competition there is much more limited compared to your traditional bends and bandages. And therefore, of course, it has higher margins. And the good news is that in that segment, you can see this in the chart of your left side. You see dynamics of each of those groups in units. Bandages, of course, they sell in huge quantities. They're reasonably cheap and slow margin, a small margin. So you see, it's in terms of units, it's big. But the next slide, to have a better view of all the other products, you see how compression socks, compression materials that I have been referring to, how they are behaving. They had, it was 2 years ago, they had less than 300,000 units per annum produced, and basically doubled the production of that part of that segment of products in in a year, and still you see the demand for those products is growing, and currently the company is facing on my understanding, very pleasant problem of insufficient capacity, meaning that this segment is expected to grow even more. It's already second biggest segment, as you see, and but in terms of marginality, is of course very profitable for the company. And if you look at how some of the financials have been behaving, you basically see the reflection of yeah, sorry, I'm having some wrong text underneath these charts. Anyway, you see the net margins have been growing, and both the net profit has been growing. That has, of course, to do with introduction of compression products as higher margin products. So so far, there's very little of those products that they sell in CIS countries. It's predominantly Western Europe and some countries in the Middle East. So therefore, we believe that there is a lot of growth potential from these products alone. And for those of you who want a bit more financial detail about the company, here are some items of their balance sheet for the last 5 years. You see that company is very healthy in terms of leveraging, 4.5 million of equity. Balance sheet isn't maybe growing as much, but it's still very healthy. Not huge compared to the sales volumes of 7 million per annum. Neither stock nor receivables are something that would ask for any extra attention. Fixed assets is reasonably sophisticated machinery, and they are of course depreciating it quite fastly. So it's very you see it's changing very rapidly back and forth, and because of insufficient capacities, they may as well need to have some extra acquisitions of machinery. But like I said, that's a pleasant part of a problem. Yeah, that's about it. I think Eva may have a last poll question, and this time this is very much related to Tonus Elast, and this is something that I thought of before the webinar, unlike with the previous poll question. So please take your time to vote. And as you do so, I'd like to ask Eva to prepare for a Q&A session. See what you got from me.
Yes, Salvi, thank you for a very interesting presentation. Thank you, listeners, for patience. Let's proceed with the questions from the audience then. We'll start with the questions in the order that they were received. A reminder to those who haven't yet submitted their questions, you can do it anytime in the questions section in the settings panel zone. So the first question, coming assumingly from a local investor: is there just one or more Russian companies which you are currently considering to buy? Salvi?
Well, I'm just wondering where that news are coming from. There's basically one that we are planning to meet, but that idea, that very greenfield idea, very raw idea, just came up yesterday. So I'm wondering how the listener knew about it. But no, other than that, we have, and that, like I said, is very raw and very long shot. Other than that, we have no other even ideas of acquiring company in Russia. We do, however, have some ideas about Belarus, because that is also part of the same customs territory, and might solve some of the issues we have with CIS countries, but nothing really advanced and serious in Russia yet. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Salvi. Next question. What is the possible total sum of the Russian company purchase deal? Please name the approximate limits from to. This refers to the first question, I assume.
Right. Well, since there's just first idea of Russian company coming up, of course, I cannot. I simply do not know whether the company is really worth anything and how much it is. So I cannot answer that. So yeah, referring to the first question, there is a very long shot, very raw idea about the Russian company, and that's at the stage when I don't even know the potential price range.
Okay, thank you, Salvi. Then the third question is, when do you plan to close the deal, this or next year? But again, if you don't have anything to add, then I believe we will skip the question since you don't have any further information. Is that so?
Yes, it is. Maybe next webinar I have a bit more greater detail on that after I've met them, but at this stage I can only tell that there is a company that, if everything is okay, might be good to have in our portfolio, but that's it. That's really all I can tell at the moment.
Okay. Next, does Olainfarm plan to link together Olainfarm's homepage with the homepages of its daughter companies, so that when you enter Olainfarm's webpage, you also see the list of other companies owned by Olainfarm, their logos, yeah, and maybe even video banners and direct links for further information? And in addition, this could also work vice versa. There could be a link on Tonus Elast and Silvanol's web pages directing to Olainfarm's web page. What do you have to tell about this, Salvi?
No, that's in fact we've been focusing. I mean, okay, look, Tonus is quite a new acquisition. There's many things to be done. Somehow we, to be absolutely honest with you, somehow we didn't think about that. But yeah, it's such a logical, really, approach. I mean, yeah. Well, thanks for an idea, whoever sent it in. We certainly will have a very good look at it.
Wonderful. We might see some changes on your websites then.
And if you have any other ideas, please share them.
Salvi, in an interview you mentioned that Olainfarm might buy 4 companies in 2016. 2 smallest deals have already been made. In which month will Olainfarm make price offer to the other 2 foreign companies?
Well, in one case it is going to be a matter of weeks. On the other case, it might be a matter of months. Yes, so yeah, we might have some news before the autumn on the first company. On the second company is a bit more raw stage. But also before the end of the year, I think we will either forget about the deal or come up with the news. But the first of those 2 remaining is in quite an advanced stage, I must say. Yeah.
Could Olainfarm at any point make a price offer to acquire Grindex?
Well, at any point, yes. Let's say we haven't of course done it so far. Our suspicion is that if we did, that there probably would be very long and serious debate with owners of Grindex about what valuations we apply in this case. But yeah, if ever Grindex become on sale, we will consider, and we will consider it extremely seriously. That's for sure. Yeah.
Why profit forecast was decreased from 15 million euro to 10 million euro? And before you proceed with an answer, Salvi, I'll add another question of similar type. Why there is such a difference in forecast of profit of 2016? First it was said that the profit will be around the same level as in 2015 or a bit less, but now it's planned to be 10 million euros. Which of the scenarios is more likely?
Yeah, the more I already tried to explain this, that the difference, if you turn back on time about this, last time we mentioned about profits of 2016 being somewhere in the area of profits of 2015. was probably when Trust Commerzbank was still operating, meaning that Ukrainian debt is factorized. We are comfortably, gradually reducing it. We are safe that we will get the money, and we can prove that to auditors, and no extra provisions are necessary. So as a couple of slides ago, when I was explaining this, it's the difference really between the actual profit of this year. Here it is. Actual profit of this year and the target profit of 2015 is roughly 5 million euros. And out of those 5 million euros, we see that 4.5 is what we planned from possible, very likely provisions for Ukrainian receivables. So that's the only difference, really. Like I said, positive news are possible in case we do find a decently priced factorizing scheme, which is quite a possibility. We are searching for options here and there. We don't want to pay 10+% for insurance, because we believe that since the company has demonstrated that it is able, although with delays, but it's still has been able to cover almost a third of its huge debt without any extra measures. So we believe that paying huge insurance premiums for that makes no commercial sense. But if you buy anything cheaper, or if Ukrainians become better at paying, then there are all the reasons to believe that in fact the provisions will be less, or maybe no provisions will be made. So meaning that we are back to roughly levels of profits of 2015. So that's really the only thing that has changed. Everything, yeah, of course we have some reduction in sales. Of course we haven't had 3 million euros extra profit because of good rule Forex. But all the other things are, yeah, well, Russia is falling more than we thought it might. But then again, Ukraine and Belarus is growing more than we thought it might. Which plus minus levels it out, and Latvia is performing nicely. Now we have Tonus in the scheme. And so those factors do compensate for each other, but the major difference really are these Ukrainian provisions. Yeah?
There is one more attendee commenting on the topic, saying that Olainfarm 2016 profit forecast is relatively low, and the question is whether it's related to investments, costs connected to establishing new subsidiaries, or perhaps acquiring daughter companies in CIS countries, or more with write down of receivables. Is there anything, Salvi, that you would like to add?
No, it was noted totally correctly that it has been related. It's not a write-off, because we do not forgive the debt. We still expect to collect it. So it's not a write-off, but that's provision. So as a careful and conservative managers, we are on the safe side. We do not count the profit yet if there are risks of that money actually turning into profit. So we do make provisions. So yeah, from all the list that the guest named, tick the box which says receivables. Yeah.
Thank you. Good to know. Next, about the situation in Russian market. How would you comment on such a big decrease in sales? Is it related to competitiveness issues due to drop of ruble value, or are those just short-term fluctuations of delivered stocks? What are the forecasts for Russian market in 2016? Salvi?
Yeah, we are behind forecasts, so forecasts were better than it's actually turning out. I would actually name two factors. The main factor is, of course, the purchasing power of Russian population. We were probably a bit more optimistic about that, and I would still regard that this is reason number one. Reason number two is also somewhat related. There are some turbulences, let's say so, on a Russian wholesale market. Some companies are in bigger trouble than the others. So what they start doing is they start trading their stock with each other for quick. They have liquidity issues, so they're selling their stock at discount prices for immediate payment, meaning that locally some of the previously imported stock is available in Russia cheaper than it is from us, because the wholesaler is assuming the loss for that. So we actually, when it was last week, I was in Moscow and I heard about cases like this, that from one company that is in serious difficulties, our products are available cheaper than if you order it from here. So that also, of course, left its influence. Unlike purchasing power, which may last for a longer time, the issue of our products being sold for cheap prices just to improve liquidity, that factor is not going to last long. I mean, there's only that much of our products available around, and that stock is going to deplete gradually. But the purchasing power issue is probably staying there for some time. So yeah, our forecasts are better, but for a number of reasons we are quite behind the schedule. Yeah.
Thank you, Sally. Next question: will Tonus Elast turnover and profit for May 2016 be included in Olainfarm's May 2016 consolidated financial results? I believe you answered this during the presentation already, but would you mind repeating it once again for us, please?
No, I won't. So won't mind. I mean, I will repeat. Yeah, since we acquired it on, we signed the contract on June the 12th, and the company registered, if I believe, we had it registered. When was it? June the 20th or so, or 19th. We decided that we will not consolidate those few days of May. But instead we will start consolidating them from June 1st. So when in about a week's time I'm going to publish our sales for May, they will not include sales of Tonus, but then for 1 month later, when I do the same with the sales for June, they will include our Tonus sales for June, and then our 6-month report, which we will publish at the end of August, will include 1 month of consolidation with Tonus Elast. Yeah.
What about profit? Does Tonus Elast profits of the year 2015 in the amount of 1.7 million euro belong to Olainfarm?
No, they don't. No, they don't. According to the agreement, those were left for the previous shareholders. Yeah.
Then the question: in which countries Olainfarm sees increasing protectionism?
It's dominantly CIS countries that are in certain financial difficulties. So yeah, pretty much you take them all. Probably the most visible it is so far in Belarus. That's where we faced it at the end of last year. Then again, if you look at how we are doing in Belarus this year, then as you see, we almost doubled the sales there. So obviously, it's not really harming us that much, at least for the first 5 months. But the trend, or let's say the rhetoric towards supporting the local producer and trying to, how to put it, not be as friendly to imports, Belarus probably is a bit more sort of advanced in that stage. In that sense, yeah.
In which countries daughter companies will be established to mitigate protectionism effects?
Yeah, so we are therefore looking at Belarus for that reason, and probably new Tonus daughter company or new Olainfarm daughter company for Tonus's needs will be open in Russia very, very soon, pretty much to mitigate the different protectionist barriers or limitations and these sort of things. So those are two countries that we would put a major focus on. Then again, there is no intention to move the production or do any major shift in that sense. That's really, we ourselves are not great fans of having expensive fixed assets in either of those countries. So we will do just as much as necessary and not a single euro more. Yeah.
Okay. When do you forecast you will be able to start using daughter companies for selling products? Salvi?
Yeah, as far as Tonus is concerned, we plan that to do starting Q3. As far as our products are concerned, and our products are of course medicines, and whenever you change any part of production geographically, even no matter how small and insufficient and tiny it is, it, among other things, requires that your registration file be amended. So for medication, it is not as easy, and so I say that actual sales of our products, let's say packed or somehow other way processed in other country, might not start sooner than 2017. Yeah.
Now we're proceeding with the questions that were sent in during the webinar, and the first one to come: is there a specific reason for weak sales of Neuromonidine in Q1 2016 compared to Q1 2015? Salvi?
Yeah, that's Neuromonidine sales are because Neuromodine's price per unit. One pack of Neuromonidine is the most expensive of our promotable products in Russia. Therefore, for particularly for Neuromonidine, the fact that I mentioned that there are cheap products of ours available as companies in liquidity panic are selling off their stock. So that situation has hit Neuromonidine the most, and since Neuromonidine has been by far the most popular demanded product of ours in Russia, and this situation is happening in Russia. So I would say that, of course, that this is by far the main reason why particularly Neuromonidine has dropped that much. Of course, there are purchasing power issues as well related to Neuromonidine, but key reason I believe is really this semi-panic in some of the Russian wholesalers. Yeah?
Thank you, Salvi. What was the EBITDA of Tonus Elast in 2015 and EBITDA forecast for 2016?
EBITDA for 2015 was in the area of 3 million euros. And forecast, we haven't really done thorough forecast for 2016. Our assumption is that in terms of sales, it will most likely gain somewhere between million and 2. Because a number of reasons. We will on one hand, we will of course add Ukrainian and Russian sales. On the other hand, we will have to do this transition between some of their sales channels and our sales channels, and some disruptions might occur in the process. So we're probably not hugely optimistic for 2016. So we do plan for some minor sales increases, but at the same time we conservatively assume that profitability will remain at the same level, meaning that EBITDA and net profit will be at the area of last year. Or in other words, we will have EBITDA at the level of 3 million and net profit at the level of 1.72 million. Eva?
The Q1 made mention of sales threatened by protectionism and the push to produce more products locally instead of exporting from Latvia. What will be the impact on CapEx, M&As, margins? Salvi?
Yeah, the impact of CapEx would be small, because the way we are planning to mitigate is by acquisition of relatively small production site in Belarus, and some CapEx there might be required. As far as margins are concerned, we believe that will not influence margins almost anyway, because of course we will have some extra depreciation to have as we will make some investments locally. Then again, we believe that some production activities that we will reduce here, increase in Belarus, will be cheaper to do in Belarus. So just because of labor costs and energy costs. So we believe that by moving that, impact on margins will be zero. Eva?
Next one. When do you expect new final dosage forms for anti-tuberculosis? What sales do you expect in 2016?
No sales in 2016, because the final dosage form is going to be finished in 2016. Thereafter, it will be presented, among other things, to WHO. So we will claim, we will apply for qualification, so we can have as good sales as we're having with PASA at the moment. But again, in medical world, things are not, especially when whatever is related to launch of new products or new markets, nothing's happening quickly, nothing's fast. Yeah?
Yes, and since you referred to PASA, the next question is about that one. So, Salvi, what is your sales expectation for PASA 2016?
As you know, PASA is sold in quarterly auctions, and some of the auctions, if the country, the recipient of WHO's aid, feels financially good, then some of the auctions might be, some of the bidding might be stopped almost in the middle. Pretty much that's what happened in Q1. So this is extremely difficult thing to plan. It seems that we are not doing as well with PASA this year as we used to do last year, but I hope that the drop, and like I said, this is very difficult thing to plan, but we hope that the drop in PASA is not bigger than 10% compared to last year. Yeah?
And the last question that we have received, why did shareholder loans increase in Q1 despite the new dividend policy? Salvi?
Yeah, the shareholders loan increased by a pretty tiny margin. I believe it's more because of we do calculate interest on that, and it's I believe almost the amount of interest that was calculated on it. So with dividend payout, I expect that shareholders loan will increase quite significantly before the very soon after dividends are paid. So that's pretty much the reason. Yeah.
Thank you, Salvi. As I see, we have managed to answer all questions. I think we had a very interesting call tonight with lots of new information, so thank you, Salvi, for that, and thanks to all participants for your questions. As always, the recording of the webinar will be available on Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel and also in company's announcements. So thank you again for the presentation and for answers given. Participants, thank you for joining. Till next time then.
Thank you, and see you somewhere in September then. Thank you.